and welcome to episode 19 of Karlene's Anime Corner, an anime podcast by the St. Johns County Public Library. I am very excited today because it is Halloween month. It's October, and our anime today involves witches. But maybe not the type of creepy, scary Halloween witches you expect. You'll see when we get to our review, and I have a brand new guest on today. Today's edition of Karlene's Crunchyroll Q is also a little bit Halloween themed, as I watched the first 3 episodes of Nyanpire, which is a cute little anime that came out in 2011 about a kitten that was rescued by a vampire and turned into a vampire kitten. So he grows little bat wings and has sharp fangs, and now he apparently has to drink blood. The vampire also mentions that he needs to live as a vampire, which I assumed meant not going out in sunlight, but they quickly break that in the second episode because he's happily walking around the road in bright sunshine. Now, I have to admit this anime did not impress me much, and I wasn't looking for much because it's a little 4-minute episode segment anime that's supposed to be a comedy, but I didn't really find it very funny, and it didn't keep my interest at all. The best part of this anime was actually the ending, which wasn't animated at all. It was kind of fun to watch a minute song with live singers and carrying little stuffed versions of the characters. So if you're going to check this out, I kind of recommend just watching the first episode so you can enjoy the ending and the cuteness of the design of Nyanpire. But personally, I wasn't too impressed with the rest of it. It's only 12 episodes long, but I watched 3 of them, and I'm really not planning on watching anymore. I actually deleted this one from my queue. But they can't all be winners, and I still think Bananya is the best 4-minute cat cartoon I've watched. Although Cheese Sweet Home is really good too. Anyway, I would recommend both of those over this anime in a heartbeat. I gave this one only 1 star. Today we're going to talk about episodes 1 through 13, or season 1 as Netflix puts it, of Little Witch Academia. This anime came out in 2015 and was made by Studio Trigger, a studio with a really good history of excellent animation. Akko dreams of being a witch and attending the Luna Nova Academy, just like her idol Shiny Chariot. But can Akko realize her dream with her poor magic skills in a world where magic is fading? All right, Miss Erica, you're the one who told me this was one of your favorite animes. Do you mind giving us a bit of a spoiler-free... Well, let's start with, you're new to our show, and you're from the Bartram Trail branch. So what do you do up there?
I am a... What's our new job title? Library specialist or something like that?
I don't know. My job title hasn't changed for 10 years, so I haven't had to deal with that.
I'm just going to go with the old one then. Library assistant. I primarily work circulation desk, so I am the person you see at the desk when you check in and out your books, or amongst the shelves putting books away. Yeah, that's what I do. I do circulation.
So you're the
duties.
cog that keeps the base of the library moving.
Yeah,
you get the books in, you get the books out, and you make sure we can find them on the shelf.
Yes, that's absolutely definitely the.
Yeah, I worked as a circ person for a few years too, so it was a fun job. You get to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which is both the blessing and the bane.
Yes.
So Bartram Trail is located up in the northeast part of our county. West.
No. Yes.
Yes, west. I can tell my left from right and my east from west. I should know this because I actually used to work at Bartram Trail also.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as I was saying earlier, this is one of your favorite anime. You sent it in the list of anime I really enjoy to me when I asked if you would like to be on this podcast. Would you like to give me a short review and thoughts on it, non-spoiler, and maybe your star rating for it?
We're going to go with 2021 Erica's star rating for it, which is maybe a 3.5 out of 5. 2015 and 2017 Erica really loved it because it just makes Erica happy. And I enjoyed the animation. I enjoyed the sort of the world that was built in it. I first watched it when it was just the 2 short films before it was ever the anime.
I saw the 2 short films, but then I never watched the series when it came out.
I also it's kind of different for an anime. Most anime are based off of, like manga or light novels, whereas Little Witch Academia is entirely just the anime, the anime itself. It's the short films
I love that
came
about
out.
this, that it was an original story for the anime.
Yeah, and you can actually see if you've watched the short film that came out in 2013, and then how it changes just a little bit in the lore and everything in 2015, and then from the anime, how it just sort of just like takes the building blocks that the short films gave it and makes something a little bit new.
Yeah, it makes
too.
it a lot more and a lot bigger too.
Yeah.
I was looking on Netflix and I don't think I saw the short films still up there. So I think they took them down, which is too bad.
I was going to watch them for my refresher and I didn't see them when I typed in, the full Little Witch Academia.
Because those are really, really nice little films to watch.
Yeah. See, those two films I watched in 2015, and they were like when 2017 came around and the anime was, announced and released, I was really excited because I was like, oh, yes, more of this thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's why I was a little, well, we'll get into that. Okay. In general, not a bad anime. Pretty good. I will say I was getting some strong Harry Potter vibes from it, but I think at this point, anything set in a magical school, you start getting strong Harry Potter vibes from. I love the animation, really well done, the color palette, everything. I really did enjoy that. Trigger always does a great job on their animation.
Yes.
Don't always like their anime, but I like their animation. I have to admit I had a bit of a rocky up and down with this first season. I have a feeling the second season might change my rating, but I didn't have a chance to watch it because I crammed all this in one weekend, a little behind the scenes right there. And I just couldn't get past 13 episodes of anime, more than 13 episodes of anime in less than 24 hours. I'm going to give this a 3-star, mostly because I actually found the main character at times highly annoying, and I was kind of bored by a couple of the episodes, but towards the end it started picking up really well. So I'm going to give it a 3-star with a provisional 3.5 to 4-star based on provisional 3.5 to 4-star based on the second season and what I feel about that one when I get to watching it, which hopefully will be this week.
Yeah, I think just because I know you and your taste a little bit, you're definitely probably going to bump it up to the 3.5 and 4-star. I bumped it down to 3.5 because while I have watched all of it and I was able to pick up on some of those story moments that really start to make sense once you know the whole thing, I just wasn't as impressed by the story as I was when I was just like watching it with fresh eyes and like loving it. I'm also not a very critical person. So that's that too.
See, and I'm not a critical person in the sense that I will try anything animated, but you have to keep me watching it. So, and this show, at least, it kept me watching it. It was not, at times I was like, really? I don't like this episode. Why am I watching this? And then the next episode would have something that would catch my interest. Yeah. Interest again. So, well, we've given our reviews. Are you ready to go into some spoiler-filled territory?
Yes.
Okay. So, in this anime, I watched 13 episodes. You have actually seen all of it. But out of the first 13 episodes that I watched, what would you say was one of your favorite episodes?
The one that really stood out to me yesterday when I was rewatching it after like a year or two was the Annabelle episode. I really liked it because it gives you a little bit more of Lottie, who's a character who gets sort of under...
Well, she's so quiet.
She's so quiet. And as she gets called by the mean girls later on, like, doesn't even matter if she's there or not, invisible Lottie. And I'm like, that's so mean. She's so nice.
But the mean girls in some ways, like, peg their characters perfectly, which is horrible. But they put the worst possible spin on it.
Yes.
And Lottie is just really quiet, really sweet, and really nice.
Yeah. So I really liked getting to see a little bit more of what she enjoys. And when she tells, like that moment when she tells Akko, she's like, I don't want to be the same as my idol. I want to support them.
Yeah. And make what they do better by being there for them.
Yeah.
Which I like that idea because I think too many people are trying to take over the writers of series, and she's just there to see what her favorite series does.
Yeah, and then also Annabelle herself, how she's, you know, a very young creator who is just overwhelmed by the negative response people have had to her work, especially because it is a deviation of a very long-lived
365 volumes for over 120 years.
Yeah, and how she's just consumed by the negativity, but then Lottie really helps her see that, you know, that's not actually all there is, that there are
people who will like her, support her, and enjoy her writing.
Yes.
And it's always the people who have the worst opinions that are the loudest.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
So I just thought that was a very nice episode. It's very self-contained, and of course it's I think it's like one of those, like, which season 1 is filled with a lot of those quote-unquote filler episodes.
Yeah, it's just episodes in their school life, and they don't really propel an overarching plot very much.
Yeah.
You just get to know the characters, and this was like getting to know Latte episode. Yeah, that one, I enjoyed that one a lot because I have to admit, I was halfway through the episode and I was like, so are they making comments on the Twilight series, or is this just in my head?
If you look at the font for Nightfall on the front of the book, that is 100% the Twilight font.
Okay, so I've never actually read Twilight or had any interest in the movies or anything, but as soon as she began talking about the werewolf and how she's rooting for the werewolf, I was like, I'm getting Twilight fandom
It wasn't
vibes.
just Twilight, though, because I also got some, like, I was like, wait, is that Outlander in there? Because
with all the time travel and everything.
So I think it's just sort of a mishmash of, like, a whole bunch of different fandoms.
Just kind of making fun of all of them to a certain extent, but also celebrating them.
Yeah.
The fact that there's 365 volumes and people are still dressing up for it.
Mm-hmm. I also really loved, like, the background of, like, the two mean girls. I don't remember their names. I think one of them is Hannah.
I really don't. They never really call them by their names all that much.
Yeah, they're basically Diana's lackeys.
Well, the thing is they are sycophants of Diana. I don't get the vibe that Diana actually likes them all that much.
She doesn't.
She's just too proper to put them down the way they should be, I think.
Diana's a very interesting character.
Well, they set her up like she should. Okay, well, Diana is. Let's go back a little bit. Diana is from a very long-running witch family. She has lots of power. She is the best witch in the school, and she knows everything. Literally, she knows stuff her teachers don't know. We find out. But despite all that, they try to. You think they're setting her up to be the snooty, better than you character. But the reality is she actually is better than most of them, but she still treats them nicely. She treats everybody with the same politeness. It's not like she goes out of her way to put Akko down, but Akko is just so klutzy that it's hard not to.
Yeah, she only really shows up to put Akko down when Akko is being overly disruptive.
And overly destructive at times.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, like, in any other character in any other series, you'd be like, I hate this character, but I don't hate Diana.
I don't hate her either.
I think she's right.
I think her two lackeys I hate, her little sycophants, because they are truly out there to be mean.
Yes.
And they don't have any manners at all. And they purposely, because they even show with Diana when she's on her own, she's not bad-mouthing the other students. Her main problem, as I said, is I think Akko is over the top and it drives Diana nuts.
Yeah, I think the area where Diana could improve is putting her lackeys in their place.
Yeah.
When they get overly mean, she could be, she could expend some of the energy that she puts towards Akko and Amanda, too, at times, towards her lackeys. But I guess she doesn't see it worth the effort.
One of the better episodes was the one leading up to the Sawan festival where Akko manages to get herself turned into Diana with that magic mirror. And I thought that was a great thing because Akko got to see everything Diana has to do, because every student in the school keeps coming to Diana for advice, for thoughts, for help, for this. So Diana doesn't really get a moment to herself. She is a completely public figure. And I thought it was a good chance for Akko to see that Diana is not just a snooty, better than you type character. She's actually giving a lot of her time to all these students.
Yeah, which I think is part of what the mirror was trying to teach her. Like, 100% there for the prank of it all, but also there to be like, you don't want to be Diana.
No, you don't want to be this responsible person for everything. You can barely be responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked a lot about different characters and favorite episodes. My absolute favorite episode, I think, out of all of them, the one that I had the most fun with was the one with the loan shark dragon who was cheating the school the entire time. I thought that was fabulous. I also love the dragon's design where he's like an old man in a robe and bedroom slippers. And they all think that this is going to be like some major fight with this fantastical beast. And it's just like grumpy old dragon.
Yeah.
I also really like that episode because you got to meet more of Akko's classmates and their interesting personalities and them all working together instead of focusing on just Akko. I have to admit, Akko is not my favorite character. No. So when they focus just on her, I start losing interest. And I don't think Akko knows how to say anything in a normal tone of voice. I watched it in Jap. I'm used to yelling characters because that happens a lot in anime. And I don't know why, but in Akko, it really annoyed me that everything she does is yelling. Maybe it's because of where she is. She's in a school, and she's still yelling her head off at every moment in the school. And I'm like, I'm amazed her teachers haven't expelled her yet just because you're too loud.
Akko is like if you took all the worst parts of Naruto, plus his uber determination and Rock Lee's uber determination.
That might be it. I don't like Naruto as a character, and this is the female version of Naruto in a magic school. But
Akko,
it's just, I don't know. She's just so over the top. And she's so bound and determined that she's going to be good at magic. And at the beginning, it's like she's not even trying to learn magic properly. She's always falling asleep in class. There's so
many times where she tries to cast a spell just by saying like open door when you know
or
that
open
there
sesame, and that's not the real spell.
You know that there are actual magical words that she should be learning in her class for these spells.
Well, and at the beginning, Professor Ursula is trying to help her because she can't ride a broom. She never does learn how to ride a broom in the first 13 episodes. Yeah, we'll discuss later whether or not she finally ever does. But that's one of her big things is she cannot ride a broom, and this is like one of the most basic things that they all can do. I
think a lot of things about Akko, especially with her inability to cast magic, are going to make sense for you once you watch season 2.
Okay.
Because there's an actual explanation for that.
Okay. But I just love the fact Ursula gives her this book, broom riding for beginners, and it looks like it's made for a kindergartner, quite honestly.
It does look like a board book, yeah.
Yeah. But Akko Professor Ursula makes it clear she wants to help Akko, but in the beginning, Akko never seems to want her help and just thinks she can do it by belief alone. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. You need some training. You need some help. At least Naruto, when, what's his name, Kakashi or whatever, starts training him. Kakashi. I only watched like half of the first season of Naruto, and it was years ago.
Read all of Naruto. So
okay. At least when Kakashi starts teaching him, Naruto realizes that he can learn something from this person.
Naruto's like believe it standpoint doesn't come from like I just believe in myself it'll happen. He's like, no, I believe in myself because nobody else does.
Yeah.
I believe in my ability to achieve my dreams, not in if I just believe in myself, I'll make this happen.
And I feel like Akko is almost more the believe it. If I believe it, I can make it happen.
Definitely in the beginning, but you do see her mature and start to study and stuff.
That's why I like the second half of the season a lot more because you actually see her doing early morning sessions with Professor Ursula, late night sessions with Professor Ursula, trying to get her magic to work properly. It never really does, but then she accepts that this is what my magic is.
Yeah, her jokey classmates are like, oh, we're going to watch this horror movie that we're not supposed to watch. And she's just like, no, I need to study. And they're like, Akko studying? What?
Yeah. I do appreciate the fact she finally does realize that and change a little bit. I mean, she still is horrible at her classes. She's still horrible at her magic. But it's just, I begin to go, well, at least she's now giving it effort.
Yeah.
And I love that they did that slow character change for her. So I have to admit that's what made this a 3-star and not a 2-star, because there was a point where I was like, I think this is going to be a 2-star. But then they slowly started changing Akko around. So we talked a little bit about Latte, the silent but invisible one, who's very supportive. And then her other roommate is my favorite character of the entire series.
My favorite character too.
Yes, Susie, who it just looks like she's never had enough sleep. She looks like she would fit in with the Addams family, with the dark circles under her eyes, the tall, thin, and the dress skirt that trails on the ground looking a little ragged.
Yeah.
I think somebody was probably looking at Addams family when they designed her a little bit. And her thing is mushrooms and poisons and potions. And I love her dearly because everywhere she goes, she somehow finds a mushroom.
Yes. Like, even like in the Annabelle episode where Lottie and Akko are looking for Annabelle, she's just like, mushroom.
Mushroom. I think she found, 3 or 4 mushrooms while they're supposed to be looking for Annabelle.
She's just, I love Susie. She's not the nicest. No, she's not nice at all. She wasn't even planning on actually attending school. She was just going to try and get into the Forbidden Forest
to get mushrooms. No, the cockatrice feather. Yeah, because she wanted that. In that case, she wanted poisons, not mushrooms.
Yeah. And then she was like, but there are rare, extinct versions of mushrooms here, so I'll stay.
Yeah. Well, and I think she really likes the potions teacher.
She does.
Who is the most amazing, like Macbeth-style witch ever. And I think she and Susie would get along very well.
They do, yeah. Any time that there is like that particular witch is on screen, Susie's face is great. She has this smile. She doesn't smile a lot ever, but she always has this smile when something that plays into her interest or her particular creepiness or whatever, which the Mean Girls call her Creepy Susie.
Which she is creepy.
Yes. Susie just owns herself. She's just like, yeah, this is who I am.
I like mushrooms. I like poison. And
I like
creepy
myself.
as all get out. And I
don't care what you think.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that she's more than willing to help Akko sometimes in her craziness, but it's usually because there's something in it for her also.
Yeah, I think the one time I've seen Susie help Akko without it being beneficial for herself at all is the Samhain episode.
Yeah, where they're defeating the crying ghost.
Yeah, because Susie is 100% down to be yeah, I'm going to be the sacrifice. I want to get absorbed by this ghost and pass through the ghost and the ectoplasm. That sounds awesome. But Akko wants to do some crazy thing where trying to make the ghost laugh or whatever, and she's just okay, Akko really, really wants to do this and really, really, okay, fine.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll help her, even though it's not at all what I want to do. Yeah. And that way, I think Susie, down deep, is actually a good friend for Akko.
Yeah.
And I think Susie is also just a great board for Akko to bounce off, because you have this overly exuberant, way too loud, way too active character, and then you have Susie, who is very monotone, very straight, does not do too much crazy stuff unless it involves her mushrooms and potions, and will just bring Akko down to ground a bit, or at least give some sarcastic comment that makes you laugh at Akko's behavior instead of just bang your head against the table.
Yeah, which Susie was the first person Akko met.
Yes, and Susie started by turning Akko's stuffed animal evil and having it attack her.
Yeah, and then when Akko persisted in bothering her, was just here, have some snakes.
Yeah. She reaches out her hand to shake a hand and makes all the ropes turn into snakes and freaks Akko out. But yeah, so those are her roommates, Latte and Susie, and then there's a few other witches we meet. I don't remember her name, but one of my favorite side characters is the witch who's always inventing things. And she actually has a propeller and motor on her broom.
She does.
Which is great, because in the dragon episode, their magic source gets stolen. And so Constance is the only one, because she has this motorized broom that is hauling all the others through the air until they get into range of their magic power.
Constance, so Amanda, Constance, and Jasmina I love, because they are another trio of witches. To sort of...
The misfits.
Yeah, they're misfits.
Another trio of misfits that somehow work really well together.
Yeah. I wish we got more from Jasmina than just being the witch who eats all the time.
She seems to have quite a bit of power, though, because she eats all the
does.
time, but she always makes things like happen, and she seems so calm and happy while she does it.
She is, yes, but she just seems very one-dimensional. She hardly ever speaks.
Yeah.
She's basically
we
just
get more
shown
out of
eating all the
Constance
time.
and a lot
Yeah.
more out of Amanda than we do
Yeah,
her.
Amanda's definitely like the shining, like actual developed character in that trio, and Constance you get to see a little bit more with the inventions and all that sort of stuff. I kind of wish you got to see Constance a little bit more in season 2, specifically because there is a new character that I think Constance would have really enjoyed learning off of and working with, but you just don't get to see that because it focuses more on plot and less on side characters.
Which might be good, might be bad.
Yeah.
So one of the issues I had with this world, and I think towards the end they were starting to explain and fix it, which made me have less issues. But all I could think was, why does Akko want to be a witch when her magic powers won't work anywhere outside the school? Because they're set it up where it's like they go into town and they have to walk to town because their brooms won't work beyond a certain point past the school because they have the Philosopher's Stone, which gives them the magical power. So I'm like, so what good is a witch if all they can do is do magic in one certain location?
Yeah.
But they do explain that it used to be that magic was throughout the whole world and magic has been fading. But we don't find that out until fairly close.
I mean,
to
they
the
do
end.
a lot of telling of that. They do a lot of telling of like magic's not very widespread and everything. And
Yeah,
you
but they
kind of
don't-
have to wonder how Chariot did all of the magic that she did when Akko
Well, that's
was
what I was
very
wondering.
young.
Maybe she had a portable magic source that they haven't revealed. I don't know. Yeah. So the other thing is, worst kept secret in this anime is that Professor Ursula is actually Shiny Chariot. You like find this out in the first episode, and I was
do.
like, I would have preferred having that be like a big reveal, maybe halfway through or something.
Okay, so that's actually one of the things I kind of enjoy about this series because they did that in the short films too. Is you kind of always got the feeling that Ursula is Chariot. They let the audience in on certain secrets, like Ursula is secretly actually Shiny Chariot. That's the only thing I can think of right now.
Okay, so
But-
and I haven't watched the second season, so I can't
Yeah,
help you
so-
on that one.
I guess in the second season, it's that a certain character is a villain when Akko thinks that she's just the coolest. But yeah, they let the audience in on certain secrets, like Ursula is Shiny Chariot, actually, and about the shiny rod and these 7 words that Akko has to awaken. And Akko doesn't know this, but the audience knows this.
Yeah, and I'm very curious about the words and having to awaken them because it seems like the other, like, Ursula knows the words. Shiny Chariot knows the words, but Akko has to awaken them, not her? Is what it seems like because she keeps giving the words to Akko, but
Yeah.
Shiny Chariot saying the words isn't doing the awakening.
You have to like in the very first episode, or maybe the second episode of quote unquote season 2 is when Ursula tells Akko about the shiny rod and about the words. She doesn't reveal that she's Chariot. I guess she's just not ready to do that.
Yeah.
But she tells Akko
the way
about the rod and the
Akko
words.
treats Shiny Chariot, I would be scared to say I was Shiny Chariot in front of her. I might wind up accidentally getting killed by her over exuberance. So
Ursula is just so interesting in that aspect, in that she doesn't want to be recognized as Chariot, and you have to sit here and you have to wonder, like, well, why? Why did
Yeah.
Chariot disappear?
Well, that's the main
why
thing
is
is
she
why did
hiding as
she-
Ursula?
she like dyed her hair magically a dull color. She wears glasses. She acts mousy and timid and trips and falls over everything. Very the opposite of the Shiny Chariot we see in the first episode.
And see, I know the reasons for that.
And I don't. And that's one of the few things that kind of kept me watching it a little bit. So maybe it's a good thing they revealed that she was Shiny Chariot earlier to give you that hook to draw
in
you
that
on.
second episode, you actually see Ursula behave as Chariot.
Yeah.
Akko's not present for this. She's actually going to quote unquote rescue Akko. But she becomes Chariot again, and it's very interesting to watch
Well, that's
her.
the episode.
It's like Superman.
Yeah. Well, it's like that
Clark Kent to
episode when
Superman.
she goes ahead and she rescues Akko from the giant bear.
Polaris.
Yeah. And you go ahead and you see her only from behind, but you see all this bright red hair flowing out, just like shiny chariots, and then you see it turn that dark blue again. So it's like, for a moment, she actually showed her full power as chariot, and then she kind of dulled herself again.
Yeah, I think that was to clue the Baron, like, hey, it's me, your friend.
Yeah.
Leave my student alone.
Yeah, and I like the way she was like, hello, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
It's like she greets this bear that is just chasing everybody and trying to kill them like it's a best friend.
I love Ursula so much.
She is, I think, the most interesting character next to Susie. She's my next favorite. I have some theories about the second season, and you are going to let me speculate on them and maybe give me a few nods or winks on whether or not I'm anywhere near right. I have a feeling they are setting up one giant quest that involves the 9 old witches and these magic words in the forest.
Yes.
And probably somehow are going to try and bring magic back to the world.
Yes.
We didn't really talk about him, but Alexander's father, the Earl of Hanbridge?
Hambridge? That sounds right.
I think that's the Earl of Hanbridge. He's a politician who wants to get rid of all the witches. I have a feeling he might show up as a bigger enemy in the second season. Because
I don't quite remember.
Okay. Because I really would like to see more of Alexander, because I find him very interesting, because at one point I did not like a lot of this episode because I'm not very much into the whole fake love spell type thing. I do appreciate some of the chaos, but it's just not a trope that
that's one of the things I like Susie. I'm like, Susie, you just a little troublemaker, aren't
you?
She
just wants to create chaos, so she goes in, let's just be loose. That makes, whenever it stings somebody, they fall in love with the first thing they see.
It's called a Cupid bee.
A Cupid bee. And she originally wanted one that was really poisonous, so I guess it's a good thing she got that one instead. I'm not sure. But Alexander says that he stopped playing the piano 10 years ago, but then he sits down and perfectly plays the Flight of the Bumblebee. You do not do that if you have not been playing the piano for 10 years.
He's probably been playing behind his dad's back.
Yeah, so they're shaping up some interesting relationships with Alexander and his father and Akko. So I'm kind of curious to see if they develop his character anymore, or if he still remains as a background character.
If I remember correctly, because I watched season 2, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He remains his background character.
That's kind of too bad.
I don't think they really get into Alexander and the Earl of Hanbridge, because the focus of the season is on a completely
new character
and her relationship with Ursula, actually.
Okay.
She's the primary antagonist, which isn't really spoiler because they make that very clear.
They don't hide a whole ton of stuff in this anime.
No, they don't.
Which, good and bad. I mean, it's kind of nice sometimes to not have to go, what are you really telling me?
There's actually, until you know the reveal with why Chariot disappeared, there's another dynamic you can kind of read in Ursula.
Okay.
After you know that.
Okay. I'll have to keep an eye out for that one. Well, I don't think there was anything else that we really wanted to discuss today. Do you have any final thoughts on this anime, the animation, and what you think of it?
I think it's a very happy show. It focuses a lot on those themes of believing in yourself, but also needing to work hard for those.
Yeah, which I appreciate they brought that in at the end, because I was like, this show seems to be aimed at a slightly younger audience than most Trigger shows.
Speaking of Studio Trigger 2, I also caught myself, I watched BNA when it came out last year, and I love BNA. And then I realized that the main character of BNA and Akko actually share
a lot of the same traits.
They do. Yeah. I can't remember her name right now, but she's not as annoying as Akko, but visually, she definitely looks similar.
Yeah. Well, most of the stuff that Studio Trigger has put out is I think rated mature, because they do a lot of stuff for older. And this one was very different for them, because Netflix gives it a rating of Y7, which for 7 and up. And I'm like, I think a 7-year-old's going to miss out on some of this stuff. Some of the scenes with the ghosts and stuff when they're chasing them, I was like, as a 7-year-old, that might have disturbed me just a little bit. But I'm not much of a horror person. I used to run and hide during the Never-Ending Story at certain scenes, so...
I'm not much of a horror person either, but I also watched Jurassic Park all the time.
Yeah, see, I
So,
didn't.
even though my nightmares were dinosaurs.
That didn't come out until I was about 12, and then I didn't watch it until I was like 16 or 17.
Well, there we showed the age difference between you and me, because that came out the same year I was born. But
Yeah, see, for me, it was the movies of my childhood that used to scare me were things like The Never-Ending Story, and there was one other that scared me, but it was some like Canadian-made film that you can't find anymore. I think it was called Land of the Small. It had some really weird parts in it.
Interesting.
Apparently, early 80s children's movies, they decided that they could be weird, psychedelic, and creep people out.
That checks out. From what little I remember, that checks out.
Yeah. So, but anyway, as you said, it seems like Studio Trigger really does seem to like the over-exuberant main character who believes in what they believe and is going to go for it.
A very common trope across, all studios in anime, but
yeah.
Yeah.
All of theirs seem to have that from what I remember, the few ones I've watched. Because I've watched BNA, I watched part of Gurren Lagann, and they also did Kill la Kill?
Yeah.
Which I have not seen yet.
According to my Wikipedia search this morning, yes.
Yeah, which I have not watched Kill la Kill yet, but that's another one of those that I think is rated TV mature.
Yeah,
So,
from what little I know of Kill la Kill, because I also haven't watched it.
watch with a lot of caution.
Yeah, Little Witch Academia definitely sticks out in their
repertoire. As I
yeah.
said, I think it's the only one they've made for a younger audience, which is kind of interesting, and I wonder what thought process happened that caused that to happen.
I mean, I'm sure there's like interviews and stuff out there.
Yeah,
that
probably all in
explains
Japanese.
They'll have subtitles.
Yeah, not all of them. Not all of them, unfortunately. I find random weird Japanese videos on YouTube, and I'm like, I really wish I knew what these people were saying. But, well, thank you so much for coming, Miss Erica.
Thank you for having me.
Talking about Little Witch Academia with me. And it was really great of you to drive all the way down to Southeast to meet me in my little recording room here.
Not too big of a problem. I get to see, all the people who I used to work with when I worked down here too. So
because we rotate through branches a lot.
We do. Yeah.
So there's always just a going on and checking out the new branch.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and I had a great time talking about Little Witch Academia with Miss Erica, and I'm looking forward to having her on again in the future. If you have any thoughts, comments, or suggestions for the podcast, you can go ahead and reach me at the email in the show notes. Just remember to put anime in the subject heading so that I know the email is for me. Enjoy this spooky time of year and the coming of cooler weather, and I look forward to talking to you guys next time. So until then, enjoy every day and watch a ton of anime.